What up, y'all? It's Soliel. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Seek Conversations, our mental health podcast. My name is Soliel. First of all, if you don't know who I am, I'm the owner of Soul Rise Essentials, where we offer mental health apparel, jewelry, and merchandise for the entire family for resilient humans on the grow. Soul Seek Conversations is one way that we build global community focused on mental health and wellness. So we exist here on the podcast to build global communities, to create genuine connection, and also for you to discover new ways to thrive via the brave voices of others. So y'all come on in the room. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever you may be watching this from. I'm so excited to bring you episode 32 with somebody that I know very well, Dziko Singleton. I am super excited. So she's going to be coming in a few minutes, but I got a couple announcements to make. Hey y'all, what's up? I see y'all coming in the comments. I see Dziko is already here. So make a couple announcements. If you're watching a replay, just go on and scroll through, look in the description box to figure out the start of the actual podcast where our guests will come on. But just some housekeeping things, because it's been a minute. Y'all have not been on live in a while. It's been a lot going on, a lot of good things, a lot of in-between things, but we're going to get into it. What's up, Khalik? Hi, Mrs. Green. So you can always shop our merchandise at soulriseessentials.com. That's SOLRISE essentials.com. Right now, y'all, we got some new merch, and maybe the VIP Soul Tribe is on here and y'all already know about this. I'm sure Mrs. Green has seen this already. I am so excited about our brand new definition tee, the Soul Tribe family. Who is the Soul Tribe family? Number one is y'all. It's everybody who supports our mission, who believes in what we do, whether you've purchased anything or not. So let me read it off. It says, a global community of resilient humans on the grow. We are authentic thrivers on a healing and wellness journey, moving in light and love to better ourselves or themselves in the world. And it's also the brave person wearing this shirt. Y'all, the coolest thing that I love about this new t-shirt that I designed, of course, it has a QR code on it. So if you meet somebody out on the street, they love what we do, they want to purchase this shirt, they want to listen to our podcast, they want to listen to our music playlist that we have curated to pick your vibes up, baby, all they got to do is scan your t-shirt. It works, okay? I love that. I designed that with so much intention, and then it has our trademarked logo. Well, our brand name is trademarked, but our logo will be trademarked very soon as well. So it has our logo on here. Ain't it cute? Go get yours. You can pre-order yours, and it will be pressed fresh, and then we will send it to you. So go get yours. It is unisex, like most of our merch. We have pack light hats on the website, all of that jazz, but won't bore you with that. Go check it out. Let me make some other announcements real quick. Okay. Trigger warning, because we talk about some very serious topics on this podcast, right? But we laugh and we talk about like some tough things as well. So you're going to get some wisdom. You might want to shed a tear at some point. You might even be triggered. So I definitely want to just put a trigger warning out there. There are professionals that come on the podcast, but we are not your professional. Okay. So we are just humans in this experience, living to tell. Well, just telling our lived experience, sharing our lived experience. So if something triggers you, it's a little too much for you, just hit pause or click off, come back or not. We totally understand that. So I definitely have to put that out there. You can see all of our past episodes on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in Soul Rise Essentials, our business name, or you can type in the podcast name, which is Soul Seek Conversation. So do me a favor. If you're already in here, share this with somebody. I'm going to share it with a couple people as well. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction of any kind or has, or you're just interested in topics like these, definitely share this live with that person, the person that comes on that you think about, that's pressed upon your heart, because you're going to be inspired. Like Dziko is somebody that I've heard about way before I even met her. And her story is powerful. And we were actually, I'm going to save that part for later, but I'm sending this to a couple people to come on in the room, but I can't wait for y'all to hear her story. Boom. All right, I sent it out to a couple people. Okay, guys, let me see. Let me make sure. I think that's everything. Oh, if you have a personal story to share related to mental health, definitely email us so we can make sure the story is a good fit We will chat it up, do a quick pre-interview, make a decision, and hopefully get you on the show. We are booked up all the way until like August. We do this once a month because Mama got a real life, like as a parent, trying to build this business and part-time job. So I do this once a month on Instagram, and we pull the episodes and put it on YouTube. But we'd love to get you on the calendar. So email us at mystory@soulriseessentials.com. All right, Dziko, I see you've already requested me. I'm about to bring you in. Child, let me drink some water. Y'all know I be talking so much in the beginning. I just need to.
Hey, hey,
Hey, Dziko, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Soleil?
I'm doing good. Welcome to the Soul Seat. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. Super proud of you. We take these conversations from our porches and now we're in this format. That's kind of
Yes.
cool.
What you got on your deck, sis? What you got?
Resilient
Yeah,
Soul Tribe member. See that?
I love
Look
it.
at that.
I got one on too. Mine says loved, so y'all can see it. It's really cute and quaint. So thank you for repping with the Soul Tribe today. I'm
Of
excited
course.
that you are here. I know you at work, so I thank you for just setting some time aside to be on the podcast today. So first off, before we get into anything, can you tell the people what your name means? Because if I didn't hear your name over and over before I met you, I would not know how to say it. I don't know where it comes from, what it means. So give us a scoop on that.
So my full name is Dziko Kibibi. Dziko starts with a D. The D is silent. I've been saying that my whole life. The D is silent, right? Um, my full name, fully translated, means little lady of the
I
world.
love that.
So
So you know Khalik as well. Khalik said, "Hey Zeke, love you for
yeah,
life."
I see him. Hey, Khalid. Khalid is a really good old friend from Southside back in the day. Really good dude.
That's a good guy right there. I did not know y'all knew each other. Thank you for
Yeah,
joining us.
got a lot
So,
of love
Dziko,
for him.
before we
Yes, let's
get
get
into the
into it.
conversation, I always like to start with a mindful moment. And so we just do a 4 count, like a box breathing technique. Cause I be talking, so I need to recenter myself. And then, before we get into it, just like to zen it out a little bit.
I'm here
So I'm
for
gonna count us.
it.
Okay. I'm gonna count us off. So we just breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4.
Gotcha.
And we're going to do it 4 times, and that's it. All right. So y'all join us as well. Get comfortable. Close your eyes. We're going to breathe in for 4. Ready and go. That's 4. Hold for 4. And out for 4. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Hold for 4. And out. That's 2. Let's do 3 in. Hold for 4. And out for 4. Last one. In for 4. Hold for 4. And out for 4. I love doing that because it's accessible to anybody. If you got breath in your body, you can do it. If you just need to calm yourself and recenter. So I thank you for doing that with
A
me.
good grounding exercise too. I need to do that before every single meeting I have with the Commonwealth of
Come on.
Virginia. So
Listen, I can't wait to talk about all of that. So I want to give everybody watching just some of our background. So Dziko and her mom and my mom are actually really good friends. We lived in Northside Richmond, and all I used to hear growing up as a teenager, Dziko, 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 Dziko. I'm like, who is this lady? And I heard just great things about her, but you were away and incarcerated.
hmm
And I just remember just people just like revering you so much. And the biggest thing that I heard was how smart you are and like these big words that you used to use. And your mom would sit and watch Jeopardy and they'd be like, oh, I got that one wrong. Dziko would have got that right. Like they always just talk about it. And I was just like, man, who is this lady? So for those of you who have not seen the flyer, Dziko, just kind of give them a quick spiel about what we're talking about today and what your background is, what led us to this conversation.
Okay. I guess the short version is resiliency, right? So like Soleil just mentioned, I spent a lot of time incarcerated, beginning when I was 19 years old. I spent half of my adult life incarcerated for various things, but primarily drug possession. Found myself with like a lot of Black people, and we don't really talk about this enough, the disproportionate amount of times that I spent incarcerated and isolated away from my family because of addiction. So, you know, that's the forefront of the story, but the real story of resiliency is the family support that I have, the inner knowing that I was destined to do so much more than just stay isolated in these carceral institutions, and made this huge change to want to come back. And I know it sounds cliche today, oh, I'm passionate about this and I just want to do this, but I made an intentional promise to the universe that if I could get out of that situation, I would reach back and help somebody else. And I've done that for the past 6 years almost.
Yes,
So,
you have.
yeah.
And you just celebrated a big achievement. You graduated. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I graduated, day before yesterday from J Sarge, and in partnership with VCU for my substance abuse counseling education and behavioral health technician education, which is super important because another topic we don't really talk about as a Black community is the importance, where we're starting to, let me change
Mhm.
that. We're starting to embrace it more. Therapy, counseling, getting rid of these stigmas. We don't tell our business outside of this house. These are the things we grew up with, and
Yeah.
I really do attribute that as some very, very plantation like stuff. We carry a lot of stuff from antebellum South practices.
Yeah.
So I just worked really, really hard to dispel that. Yeah, it doesn't serve us.
Congratulations. I'm just so proud of you, so in awe of you. And we got a whole lot to talk about. You mentioned something earlier. You said, us having conversations from the porch. Now we bringing it to the podcast on social media, which is awesome because you said it a couple times, like things that we don't talk about. And one thing about your mama and you and your siblings and your friends and people you hang with and me, we gonna have the tough conversations. We gonna
Yeah,
we
we
gonna
have
we
to.
gonna we gonna cuss. We might drink a little bit. We gonna talk a little junk with it, but we talking. And that's
Yeah,
what I've always loved about y'all, just being open to having tough conversations and going through tough moments and bouncing back from it. That's also resilience. Like, it's just
sure,
how you bounce back bigger, greater, stronger, because you got new information from the incident
sure,
that happened, right?
right,
So yeah, I don't know, like when you say, we are not having those conversations. I think having conversations like these, bringing them from the porch, putting it on the platform, for people who want to grasp the information, that's ready for the information, is so important. So going back with your story a little bit, I know you said you just graduated, you talked about being incarcerated, you talked about your resiliency, but we have not really touched on like the addiction portion, because I want people to really get into where you come from. Like what you said, you had this inner knowing, and now you've really fully stepped into and embraced that destiny. I believe like you really walking in it, and it's so much more for you.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. You know, During the course of all these different jurisdictions I was in, like locked up in New Jersey, and every women's prison here in Virginia, what I found was that my story wasn't entirely unique. Nearly every woman that I spent time with doing time was as a result of their partner. um we I guess we identified as ride or dies or whatever, and that's usually the way it happened. And not a lot of treatment options were given to women of color. I have you know, a unique story, I guess, where I had the same exact charge as a white girl that I knew. We had the exact same background. She was afforded to go to treatment, and I was given 3.5 years for the same amount of substance, right? So, the addiction, the carceral institutions, the disproportionate sentencing, all of that was just this cyclical thing that continued to happen over and over. The addiction part is just insidious and baffling and cunning, but then when you have this hugely racist and misogynistic justice background, and you add that into the mix of being a black woman, being a black mom, a black single mom, um, it's just really ugly, and it perpetuates itself over and over. So I did not get the support that I needed with my addiction. I just didn't. And when I say I didn't get the support that I needed, I mean from these structures that are supposedly here for support. I didn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew within myself, I knew from the support of my family, this was something I was going to have to do innately on my own. And I did. I didn't do it
Yeah.
alone. I did it with the support of my
Yeah.
family and friends, but nothing from these institutions that are so revered. I didn't get what I needed. And so when I made the decision that last week that I was incarcerated, I just made this decision that I was going to stay clean. I use verbiage like clean. I hope that's not offensive to anybody. This is my story. So
Mm-hmm.
or abstinence based. So I just did the work that I knew I needed to stay out of these people's jails and prisons, to not have to respond to a 22-year-old correctional officer, and to be present and available for my daughters and the rest of my family, and for myself, which was, I had to do that for myself first. So this was not easy,
Yeah.
it's just not. Being a black girl ain't easy. So you add a lot of different layers on top of it. And but we're resilient. We can do this, but we
Now,
don't do it alone.
when you say this is not easy, I want to put a pin in that, because you haven't shared, and hopefully you don't mind me asking this and you don't mind sharing, but like what type of addiction were you struggling with? Because the fact that you beat that, to me, I'm just like, you don't hear that every day.
So the drugs of choice were heroin and cocaine. So you're dealing with the heroin, which is a huge physical undertaking. The cocaine is this huge physiological undertaking, and you mash them together, and it's this really out of this world cocktail of physiological makeup, physical dependence, mental dependence,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just took me all out of
Yeah.
myself. Um, some days I just marvel that I have my faculties intact,
Yeah.
that I'm here. I suffered overdose several different
Mm.
times, so I've just really committed myself to drug user health. I'm a huge advocate for Black women's health. And I'm in these rooms. I've been afforded these opportunities to be in these rooms and make a lot of noise. So I know I'm labeled the angry Black woman, and that's okay,
Yeah.
as long as Black women get the health services and the mental health services they deserve. I'm okay with that. So if
Yeah.
my sister tells me a lot, she says, Zico, I hate the fact that you had to go through so much. She said, but I really feel like you went through that to be where you are today. And I try to hold on to that.
I love that. I'm glad you touched on Zani. Hey, Zani. So I also have a sister as well, very close, and she tells me something very similar. My sister always says, "I hate that you have had to go through so many different things." And she said it has to be for a reason. It got to be
Sure.
for something. So, like, to hear your sister telling you that, and to see you actually walking in that, and to see me walking in that, I'm glad that we're able to share that, so somebody else that's in it right now, because that don't mean we ain't still going through things, right?
Sure.
It's just a testament to the resilience, and like you said, that inner knowing, because I feel
Yeah.
like I know, and I've known the same thing, that I would come out on a different side, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. There were days when I was just so caught up in the grips of addiction, and just existing. I wasn't living, I was just existing. And periodically throughout the day, I would just be like, you're going to be okay. I had to have, they say the
Mustard
faith of a
seed.
mustard seed.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, I just held on to that. And it really was a lot of internal work that I had to do.
Yeah.
It's really not easy doing inventory of yourself. It ain't easy taking a look at all your stuff. And I had to work on that, and I continue to work on that.
Yeah.
I think it's a lifelong
It
process.
is a lifelong process. I also wanted to ask you today, in this moment, right now, from on a scale from 1 to 5, how would you rate your mental health?
Oh, today I would say maybe I'm at a 8.
Oh,
I think I'm
on
at
a
a
five, one to
8.
five.
You said 1 to 5, but you said 1 to 10. Well, shit. 1 to 5. Well, let's say I'm at a 4.5. I think I'm in a really, really good place. I just achieved a really huge personal and professional goal. My daughters are healthy. My mom is on vacation. Things like that add to my mental health. And I like how you frame that right here, right now. I always try to look at the right here, right now. I think the biggest stressors in my life are probably some of the work that I do and the racist structures that I work up against to provide these things. So, I don't let it consume me, but my work really is my life and it spills over into my personal life. So a 4.5 is accurate today.
Okay, all right. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to talk about something that you said. In this line of work, first of all, let me just say a couple things. You are smart. You are capable. Like, you are a force. And anybody when you walk
Mhm.
into a room, they're gonna know that, right? And so having that level of certainty as a Black woman doing the work that you do is not gonna be well received by everybody. However, I've had to figure this out in my own life. I've looked at like the emotion spectrum, right? And I'm like, why can I always almost identify with being angry about something, right? And
Mm,
so now I explore other emotions. I'm tapped into those now, but at the root of anger, in well, it's two: fear sometimes,
yeah.
but also passion. You care, like, you care
Mm-hmm.
about what's happening around you. And so to me, if you look at things on a deeper level, it's like Dziko passionate about this, and
Mm-hmm.
she gonna be loud if she needs to, so y'all understand the severity of this problem, so we can keep working to figure it out and together. And so if you shut up, don't nothing get done. When you shut up about your
Exactly.
story, nobody knows that they too can be free. you
That's
know
right.
so I've been actually sitting with that recently about how people view Black women who have certainty and who have that inner knowing. Like, I know it's gonna be okay, but I also know I gotta do some work, and I might gotta piss a couple of y'all off to get it done, but I'm gonna do that. Like, somebody has to do it. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that you said that. I just wanted to throw that out there too.
So what I've learned, life is a trip. What I've learned is that anger is okay. Anger is a very healthy emotion. And I think that the way the society has, projected this trope of angry Black woman, it's just so easy to stereotype us. I'm fine with that. I get stuff done. I'm trying to refrain and censor
You
myself
get
from
shit
cussing because
done.
I cuss a
Well, you
lot.
don't gotta censor yourself, because I be cussing. I be cussing on you too.
I get stuff done, and a lot of the rooms that I'm in are filled with white cisgender men, right? My name is very ethnic. I'm very, very assertive, and so you sense this pushback sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm one of two people who runs the largest harm reduction program in Virginia, period. And that's important. It's important to note that I'm one of two people, and I identify as a Black woman. I identify as a Black woman with this lived experience. I speak from this experience. I understand that it may not always be appropriate for a certain person to approach one of my participants about HIV and Hep C testing. Sometimes I'm the person to
Mm-hmm.
do it. And I get to make these decisions, and they need to be respected. And that's not that it's always respected. I've had to really challenge different voices in these spaces, and I'm okay with that, because at the end of the day, I get shit done, and I know it. My numbers are testament to that. The number of people we've helped get into treatment are testament to that, and just the overall success of this program. So we go into these same neighborhoods that I used in, right? I copped drugs and I used in. I sold my merchandise. I was a booster, so we go into these same spaces and people see me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, damn, Zico can do it. I can too. And I'm here to offer that hope and that resiliency. So I'm okay with whatever labels they put on, but they know not to say certain things to my face. Let's be very clear about that, right? Um, and so, yeah, sometimes I have to flex where I work and what I do to get things done.
Yeah,
And I'm okay with that.
it's serious
So angry
business.
Black woman. Yeah, it's serious. Like Black people are dying, and none of this started to gain traction until the opioid epidemic started to affect people in Southwest Virginia,
Correct.
Appalachia.
Correct.
This has been generations for
For
us in our
us.
neighborhood. So I'm not really all that impressed with certain things that are happening. These things have been happening for us. And thankfully, I have a platform and a voice to put these things out into the forefront. And this is why each of the positions that I hold are so important. I'm a racial equity consultant for federal agencies. That's important. You need to know why you have to approach this Black woman totally different than you would this PTA soccer mom from Chesterfield. Cultural differences, cultural sensitivity, so you can call it what you want, but I'm going to make sure that this girl over in Mosby gets everything that she needs the same way I would this mom out in Chesterfield. They're one and the same to me, but we have to be very culturally sensitive to
That's
that.
it. That's it. So I want to go back just a little bit as well. You talked about being clean for, it's been 6 years now?
I'm coming up on my 6th year. November, it'll be 6 years.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know are you still smoking cigarettes? I know we talked about that.
Look, so girl, I think about me and Mr. Marion. Lord have mercy. Me and him with these cigarettes. But I tell you this, I smoke under 6 cigarettes a day. So it's still coffee and cigarettes, but that is it.
Good. Well, I
Yeah.
wanted to put that out there because I know you and my grandpa, y'all got to stay in solidarity with each other with this fight against these cigarettes, okay?
I know. One vice at a time. I'm trying. So
Right.
I've just started to taper
Yeah.
down.
I'm just so elated for you. So
Thank
you used the
you.
word earlier, Marvel. I know I sound like a fangirl and I don't care, okay? Because you was my next door neighbor and we know each other. So we've seen
Sure.
each other at our worst and at our best. And so I just marvel at the whole experience. I'm gonna look
I
at my
marvel
notes
with
real
you
quick.
too, like your Pack Light journey, your Soul Rise journey. I told you before, I have a participant on my program who every week, he'll come out today. I'm not going out today. He wears a Pack Light cap,
One of my
right? And so
one of my
the
hats.
first, yes, it's one of your
This one.
hats. And
Oh my
yes. And so
gosh.
the same day I did intake on him, I was like, do you know who this is? He was like, one of his family members gave it to him. They had one and they gave him one. He wears it every single week. And I've told him who you are to me and why that cap is important and so the resiliency just from that he shows up and is proactive about his health. He comes to make sure he gets Narcan. He comes to make sure he gets his xylazine test strips. I mean, it's not lost on me certain things that I see and the
Yeah.
way people show up for themselves. And he wears that cap every single time I see
Wow.
him. And I marvel at that. That's a trip to
That's a
me.
trip to me, and that's exactly why I do what I do. Like we all wear clothes. We all go throw on a
Sure.
t-shirt to go to the gym, to go get treatment, to go for a walk, to walk our dog. But it's subtle. It's very subtle. Like just reminding
Yeah.
you to pack light. When I got a bad day, having a bad day, I designed this merch with bright colors to lift my spirits up. Color
Mm-hmm.
therapy is a real thing. So it's
It
just subtle.
sure
It's like,
is.
okay, you ain't feeling that great today, girl. Throw the bright one on. What you want? Green, you want aqua, you want. And so to hear that I thought he just wore it like, and you saw him one time. I didn't know it was a hat that
No.
he always, and he's on a journey. I
Every
tell
week.
him I would love to meet him one day, and that I love that he wears that hat.
I
That just made my
will.
day.
I
I love
will.
that so much. Yeah, on the journey. I love that. Somebody in the comments, Amp says, "Beautiful queens, thank you so much."
Amp. That's my boo. That's my boo.
Hey,
Love Amp
Amp.
to pieces.
Um, I think you've shared on this a little bit, but as a matter of fact, no. I want to go back. I believe in origin stories. I'm real big on like we didn't just wake up the way we are. It's been a journey to get to where we are. So I've talked about knowing and loving your family for a very long time. I want to know how little Dziko grew up because the stories I've heard about you growing up, I'm like, how she get so smart? She seems so like well-rounded and like. So when you told me how y'all grew up, I was very fascinated by that. So I just want you to share with the Soul Tribe family a little bit about little Dziko.
Okay. Um, we grew up military. My dad was a staff sergeant in the Air Force. And so I was born in Delaware. Both of my parents are from Richmond. Um, we traveled extensively. And when we moved back to the States, because we lived in Guam for like 3 or 4 years, so that's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Um, we came back home. So at this time, I'm about 8. My sister is like 3. And it was a huge culture shock for us, So you go from growing up on military bases and speaking different languages and just my way of life. And then I came to Richmond. Huge culture shock. Dziko talk like a white girl. She thinks she cute. I learned to read when I was 3. Both of us did, me and my sister, and that wasn't always celebrated. And so you do what you have to do to acclimate and fit in. Um, and I don't think I ever quite fit in, which today I love that
Yeah.
I don't. I love that I'm
Uh-huh.
different. Um, but yeah, and this was right around the time that crack hit our community. So, we saw our family change, the dynamics change, and my parents split up when I was about 15. And like a lot of other women I've met on this journey, we seek solace and comfort with this other type of father figure. And this is when the emergence of the money getting due comes into the picture, right? So now I'm attracted to that. And with all of these things come some things, yeah. It was always a huge struggle for me, this new street thing and continuing with school. I was on the track to go to Howard or Spelman, pledge Delta, do my thing, and live happily ever after. And unfortunately, the Black community suffered at the hands of this new phenomenon called crack, and it just changed everything. So yeah, grew up really, really loved, sheltered both of my parents, and some things happened, you know what I mean? But the family support never wavered. And it's the only reason I'm able to sit up here and talk about this now. If I didn't have the support of my family and the love of my family and all these other things that so many other women don't have, I absolutely would not be here.
Yeah.
And I'm very clear about
Yeah.
that.
And
Very
even
clear.
though you said your family dynamics changed, I think that foundation that was laid, having both of your parents loving on you, is like really
Absolutely.
special. Like you said, something a lot of people cannot say they have.
Absolutely. My father and my mother being in this beautiful Black marriage, and they expose us to so many different things, so many cultures, so many different foods and events. Like, I grew up very privileged, and that's a luxury for most Black women.
Two things, and let me write this down so I don't go off track. Because I want to, I gotta explore this. So, your mom, in light of Mother's Day, Miss Iris is an experience. That's the only thing I can say. How do you describe your mom?
Oh my God. Um, Otherworldly.
Yes.
Um, all of us love our moms. I have such a deep, utmost respect and admiration for my mother. Like, she's just a whole vibe and force. Like,
Yes.
from her locks to her head, and we joke with her a lot about so many different things, but I'm constantly in
Yeah.
awe of my mom.
Yeah.
She's just a whole vibe.
A
She is
vibe.
one of the best people in the world.
Yes.
I've seen her feed people, on
Yes,
Graham
ma'am.
Road, when your mom would be cooking, my mom would be cooking. They go from back door to back door and making plates for people out on North Avenue. Like,
Mhm.
what better example? If I could be a fraction of the woman my mom is, I should be so lucky.
Yeah. Amp says she is definitely an experience. Absolutely.
Period.
I was trying to think of a word. I'm like, how would I even describe? You got to experience it, but you know how they be like, you had to be there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you
And
just had to
thankfully,
be there.
she's here. She's healthy. Like today, I think they're in St. Thomas or they're somewhere. My sister and my mom are on a cruise with two of my cousins, and I'm just so thankful that my mom is here and she gets to see me do this thing that she prayed for so long. You know, when your
Yes.
mom tells you that every time her phone rang, her heart would drop, you know, and now she gets to see her prayers answered, and it just does something to me every
Yeah.
day. I'm just super grateful.
It's a blessing to have good neighbors. And the
Oh yeah.
neighborhood I'm in now, we are such a community and I love it. And it's very reminiscent of those two little houses that was on our
Yeah.
block. Miss
Yeah.
Iris house and Miss Carmen house. Like it was not a
Yeah.
lot of houses on our little block right there, but
It
it's
was
very
just us.
reminiscent of that. Huh? Yeah, it was just the
It was
two
just
of
us.
us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure both of our mamas was just praying. And I know now they get to see the evolution and my grandfather and
Yep.
all your other family members. When I posted the flyer about the podcast, everybody was just talking about how proud they were and like this is gonna be amazing. So that love transcended beyond family and to chosen family is nothing like it. So I'm just grateful that we're
Sure.
both here to see it, to feel it, and receive it, and to send it back.
So am I, Soleil. I really
Yeah.
am.
I wanted to also speak on the privilege. Like, you know, I hear this a lot. Me and one of my good friends were talking about this. And so many people think that because you come from a two-parent household, and I'm going to throw some stereotypes out there. Hopefully nobody gets offended. But, well, how's she a stripper? She had both of her parents. Or how did he end up on drugs? He had both of his parents. Or he was on track to do this. He was a star player. And I'm just like, have you learned anything? Like, that's not how it
Mm-hmm.
goes.
Mm-hmm.
And so to hear your story, you know, regardless of well, you were very plain about it. You know, you said that the crack thing happened and family dynamics changed, and so there's always, in my opinion, I'm gonna call it a disruptor for lack of a better word. There's always something.
Sure.
There's all it's not, you don't just wake up and, well, I came from a two-parent household. That means I'm gonna go to Harvard and I'm gonna have a family and white picket fence. That's not the equation for
Mm-hmm.
everybody. But instead of judging the situation and figuring out, well, that wasn't supposed to happen, it's like, what was the disruptor? Like, what trauma entered the situation? And I feel like your story, you guys have traveled, you speak different languages, you are extremely intelligent, but you made it plain. You were like, the family dynamics changed and the crack era happened. And you were
Mm-hmm.
looking for love and found it, or thought you found it, in a partner. And that was the string of events that happened, among other things. So I
Yep.
like how you touched on being privileged, but you like, this still quote unquote happened.
Mm-hmm. Um, I think it's maybe the Black experience in America, right? These things happen. I come from a extremely heavy HBCU background. My entire family, on both sides of my family, grew up in a two-parent household, a super loving household. There was nothing incestuous going on. There was nothing, none of that. Like, we were very Cosby Show like, and this era was so unique. And in fact, my grandma used to say, there's nothing new under the sun except crack. And so I heard that a long time ago. We had never seen anything like that. And I saw it absolutely destroy so many strong families within my own family.
Wow.
Um, and so we grew up with this privilege. We grew up, going to these festivals, very super intentionally cultural family. My mom
Mm-hmm.
is just all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And this still happened, so as well read as I might
Mm-hmm.
be, as well informed and well traveled as I might be, this still happened. And I've seen it happen with so many other women in my family. Luckily or thankfully, before it had fatal consequences for me, because there have been several times it was very unclear about whether or not I would make it.
Mm-hmm.
That faith of a mustard seed, I guess, was just enough for me to do what I needed to do. And so still am proud that I come from privilege and matriculation and esteem,
Yeah.
on both sides of my family. But yeah, addiction and trauma, you know,
It can
it
happen to
supersedes.
anybody.
Yeah, it supersedes privilege and education and all of that, right? So when I do a lot of my talks, I talk about these 6 degrees of separation, this happens more often than we are really willing to admit. But thankfully, we're having these conversations where, if we don't talk about the stigmas and the traumas and the challenges and the barriers, how do we ever get well? So I just talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just opens up. Let me tell you what happened to me
Hey,
one day. I was at
Taj
school.
in the comments.
Hey, Taj. I was at Reynolds one day. I had to go down there for something. This was about a month ago, and they were having this fair down there talking about recovery settings and da 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 da. I do a lot of work with VCU's Rams and recovery, and there was a young black woman down there. She was registering for classes, and she stopped me in the parking lot. And she was like, "Can I ask you? Can I ask you something?" I'm like, "Sure. What's up?" She said, "Are you in recovery?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." She said, "I saw you talking to the people about addiction services and this and that." I said, "Yeah, I do a lot of work with them." She said, "I'm struggling." These are the conversations that need
Mm-hmm.
to happen. This is why representation is so important. She saw me, another black girl, an older black girl, but a black girl nonetheless. And she felt comfortable enough to me to talk to me. And she and I text on a regular basis now. I don't know her from anywhere except from in that parking lot. And so this is when all of the isms and the norms that we have to exist with kind of just dissipate away. And we just have to make this
That's it.
connectivity. So that's the privilege of that space right there. One black person communicating with another black person, because so many of these things are held away from us.
I think that's a great segue into one quick story I wanted to tell as well. That's powerful. And I'm glad that she connected with you of all people, because you're going to keep it real.
Me
You're going to give
too.
somebody a hug if they need one. I remember this was at the peak of when I started having some mental health challenges on Graham Road. And I ran outside and I don't know if you remember this, but I was on the sidewalk, like just having a whole episode, and you walked up to me and just gave me a hug. You ain't say nothing, didn't ask no
Mm,
questions, and I don't know what happened after that. We didn't even talk. And so
hmm
I'm grateful for the boldness of Black women, and for just that, even whether you're a mother or not, just that innate mothering energy. Like Tajay said, it was just divine timing, and I will never forget.
hmm
There's a couple moments that we've had in passing at that when we lived on Graham, that I just will never forget. And it's almost like it's just a knowing, like you said it perfectly earlier. And do you remember that?
I don't know, because I probably was
And
high.
I think,
I was in the midst of my addiction right then. But it's that connectivity. Black women are the strongest, most powerful advocates for other black women. Period. Like nobody goes as hard for each other as we do for each other. And in some senses that's sobering and sad, but it's powerful knowing that, you know, in that moment you just needed somebody to hug you. And
that's
and
it.
maybe that's all I could do at
Listen,
that moment.
and it was so powerful. Nobody else really knew how to respond to what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what was going on. I think the ambulance was on the way or coming. I don't know. It was very, like, I was kind of in and out. But I do remember you literally coming out of nowhere on that sidewalk and gave me a hug. And I truly believe, like you said, you were definitely probably high, but you gave me what I needed in that moment, you know?
Well, I love that you remember that and you held on to that. Sometimes we have to hold on to whatever we can to get through to the next
That's
thing. And
it.
the
That's it.
connectivity, I talk about connectivity, and you hear me talk about black people and black women specifically a lot. Like that is like, listen, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to serve in a drug user health capacity, but I'm a black girl, right? And so I want to serve and fill in these gaps that other black women don't get. So I'm happy I was able to do that. Our families love each
Mm-hmm.
other. So at that moment, maybe that's what you needed. Maybe I needed it too on some
Yeah.
level. And
Yeah.
here we are.
I wanna transition into talking about family dynamics a little bit. So you're the mom of how many kids?
I have two beautiful, amazing girls.
Yes, yes, you do. Shout out to Elle and shout out to, I ain't gonna say her whole name. You say it. Shout out to Wawa.
Yeah, Ellen Wawa.
Yes. I brought that up because I remember when we did our pre-interview, we were talking about having tough conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And when you decided to get and stay clean, I'm sure there were some tough conversations that you had to have with your family and most importantly with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because you also talked about like you being away for that amount of time and how it affected them and however much you comfortable sharing about those conversations and I guess the bravery and boldness it took to have them. Because a lot of parents, me and my mom were actually just talking about this yesterday. We were talking about how that gap between millennials and Gen X, how we just have access to so much more information and knowledge. And sometimes Gen X, their thing was, baby, we were surviving, we did what we could. And some of them
Mm-hmm.
are like, we ain't trying to hear that shit. Like you had
Yeah.
clothes, you had shoes, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I was telling my mom, I said, that's great, that's dandy. Basic needs were met, but at the same time, emotional needs need to be met
Sure.
of our children. And when parents are, and I get it because I'm a mom now, when parents are inundated with the day to day and paying bills and trying to go to work, and you're a single parent, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it can be tough to manage all of that. But again, now for like millennials, we have the tools, and it's a lot. It's like a balancing act trying to figure all of this stuff out, especially when a lot of our parents didn't have the information. We first generations trying to figure this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was telling my mom, I was like, it's just the accountability piece.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you remember saying or doing something, if your child, and we were having this conversation about families in general, not just me and her. If your child says that this hurt, then it hurt. If your child says that, you missed this day and you said you was going to be there, and even though you don't remember it happening or not happening because you were inundated with the day to day, it's just the accountability and the acknowledgement, whether
Sure.
you feel like you hurt them or not. So those were some very tough conversations that we've been having about the disconnect and the gap between. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Um, really good, excellent subject to touch on and to talk about and to do a deep dive into. And I think that my most immediate thought is how resilient of my girls to continue to love on me in their frustration, their anger, their hurt, their confusion, um, and still be my biggest cheerleaders, right? Me and Wawa, I had my first daughter when I was 16. So I always look at it like we grew up together. The staunchest supporter in the whole world for Zico. Like you can't say nothing about Zico. And Elle is also this person who has always fiercely defended me. And they're total opposite girls, right? And the love and the care they have for me is unmatched. Had to work on a whole lot of stuff. They're adult women now, right? Had to work on some abandonment issues. Had to work on the trust issues. Some really hard conversations have had to take place in the past 5 years. But I was adamant about doing this, right? I had to make these amends. I had to reach my adult children.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any
Mm-hmm.
excuses, you know what I'm saying? I just had to have these conversations, and we continue to have these conversations. I feel really privileged that they get to walk this journey with me, and they allow me to walk their journeys with them. Um, yeah, this has been a work in progress, and we're starting to learn things about each other that if we hadn't gone through that, I don't know if we would have been as privy to. So,
Mm-hmm.
we had to go through some shit to get to the point where we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's absolutely been worth it. Like I said, doing self inventory has had to be one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and just the accountability that has to take place on all sides is
Yeah.
the only way that I can continue to stay clean and do the work that I do and be a mom to my girls, be an aunt to my sister's sons, I couldn't have. It's a comprehensive thing. Yeah. And so my girls have just been rock stars. They show up for me, they cheer me on,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. And I'm very privileged that I get to do
Yeah.
that.
I love it. And I love that you have been open to those conversations because I have we do community events and we're talking about mother wounds and other types of things that's kind of frowned upon to talk about, but it's necessary. We're struggling, and so we need to
Yeah,
have these conversations. And so I've heard over and over about the mother wound and your mom not being there for whatever reason and how it affects you still into adulthood, whether you're a woman or a man experiencing that
sure.
type of loss. And so it can be a touchy subject to discuss. So that's why I said I just applaud you for being open to having it, because like you said, it has to be accountability on all sides, because there's going to be some things that
Hmm.
you hear that's going to really hurt you to your core. But I believe
Girl.
sometimes, mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
like just, but yeah, and not to interrupt you,
mhm.
but there's no way this healing can take place. There's just no way it
Yeah,
can without this conversation, this dialogue. It can't just be celebrating Zico because she's
right.
clean now without hearing about the hurt that my two girls went through. I have to hear
Yeah,
that. I have to hear it. I have to absorb
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
Sit with it.
it's just, yeah, like this
And it's
ain't easy, but
uncomfortable.
it's worth it.
It's
Yes,
so,
I'm
it's,
kind girl.
it's worth it.
It's worth it every single day. So I really do appreciate this conversation right here, because without these conversations with my family and specifically my daughters, I just couldn't do what I do. There's no way, I just couldn't. So I'm so glad that you talk about these things, the resiliency of it all. It's not just my resiliency, it's these two young women,
Yeah.
right? Who, thank God I had the family that I did, that they never had to be split up. My
Mm-hmm.
mom and my sister took absolute beautiful care of them when I couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
when I wouldn't, so there's all these different conversations, and we do that now, and it can be ugly and
Yeah.
hurtful, and it's hard to look at your
Yeah.
past stuff,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely necessary. I talk to these girls several times a day. I'm with them
Yeah.
all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and there were periods of years where we were apart from each other, so it's so important, and I appreciate you asking me about that.
Yeah, I always tell people you gotta let your heart break. Like some of the
Yeah,
things that you hear are gonna be hard to hear, and you gonna be at your lowest. But I always tell people the only way from there is up. So your heart might
yeah,
break a little bit, but the conversations are absolutely healing. Even though they hurt at the same time, it's healing.
yeah.
My sister had a question for you. Shout out to Stro. He said loves this. Hey y'all. She says, that's so beautiful. What's a word that comes to mind when you sit back and see how beautifully things have blossomed for you and the girls now? That's a good question.
Redemption. Redemption is one of my favorite words. I think redemption song. It has. I've always had that on my playlist since I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Redemptions. So many. Listen, I went to 21 funerals in 2021. Right,
Mm.
for various reasons. Most of them were drug related. There's no reason why I should not have been in those positions were it not for redemption. I feel very privileged and blessed to still be here. I'm not a super religious woman, but I know that there's something greater than me that is in charge of all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So redemption is probably the first thing I think about.
Mm-hmm.
The things I get to do now, Soleil, what I've learned is that God forgives and the Commonwealth of Virginia does not.
Does not. That's good. Oh, that's so
Like
good.
I have 27 felonies and I
Wow.
speak on national stage at redemption,
Wow.
right? My girls call me when they have a question about how much season to put on chicken. Redemption,
Mm-hmm.
right? My mom and I can drink coffee together in the morning. Like this is redemption. I think
Mm.
it's just a word that's just like forever etched into everything I do. My
That is
sister and
so.
I, me and Zani went for a long time not speaking.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, I talk to Zani at least 10 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Redemption. I'm able to show up for people, right? You and I made this appointment today a year ago, sometime last year. Girl, if I was still out there, like I would have, this is redemption. Like, this is connectivity. This is love. Um, yeah, life is
Yeah. Life
good.
is so good. It always comes full circle. Life is so good. And I always tell people on the podcast, like this brand is not for picture perfect people. It's not a mental health. Oh, everything is gonna be fine. It will at some point. I can't tell
Mm-mm.
you when, boo. I can't tell
Hmm.
you when. We're gonna have to go through some things, and even when you get over that hump, it might be something around the corner. But again, that
Sure.
resiliency that you keep talking about, and I know people have an issue with that word for whatever reason, but it's a word that I know keeps us alive. Like it's instinctual. Like you get a cut and it's
Sure.
gonna heal. That's
Yeah.
resiliency. Your body is bouncing back. You may not want to be called strong or resilient, but best believe if you keep living, like my grandpa always say, you'll figure it out. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be something else that you have to overcome. That's resiliency. So
Yep.
I just
And
tell
I
people,
love the word.
mm-hmm,
Why not? Listen, I say it all the time to people on my program, right? I say every day is not going to be glitters and unicorn. It's just not. But when I see people continually show up and come to the program, and once they develop this trust with us and know that, okay, well, maybe these people are here for me. Maybe they do have some really good services. And when I see people evolve from this stage to this stage, and now they have housing,
yeah,
now they have this connection back with
yes,
their children, and they continue to show up. And then they come back and say, Zico, I got 7 days clean. Zico, I got my first doctor's appointment next week. Look at the resiliency of that. Like, these social norms were not put in place for the resiliency of Black and brown people, right? They weren't put in place for people for drug use or health. These are still heavily stigmatized things. So the resiliency I see every single day of people on the program, of my, yeah, like, I love resiliency. Who wouldn't love
yeah.
that word? I,
Yeah.
I
I
don't,
wanted to
you know.
ask you about something. You've experienced quite a lot of loss around relationships as well. I remember that and not
Mhm.
going through it with you, but seeing you go through that. And so I want to touch on like your healthy love now. I be seeing you out with your boo. You got your little bag. Always be right there with you. He's like, I'm going to be on a podcast. Where you at, Mark? Where you at? Yes,
Shout
let's
out
talk about
to
that.
Mark. So, it's funny when people, Mark and I do a lot of different events and presentations and stuff together. My cousin calls us Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, which is hilarious to me. But Mark was the person that I did not know I needed when I needed. I've known him for years. We met in a recovery space years ago. And when I came back this time, when I got clean this time and stayed, he reached out to me. He will tell the story very differently, but he reached out to me. He jumped in my DMs. That's what he
Period.
did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he would tell
Uh-huh.
it differently, but Mark was he was in a position for some stability,
Mm-hmm.
for some genuine love,
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot of laughs, and some long term commitment. And yeah, we're doing this professional and personal thing together, and it's really nice.
Wow.
He's really cute. Um, my children approve, my
Okay.
people approve, and it just worked. I wasn't looking for that with Mark, and it just happened. I think, at some point there's divine alignment and the stars and moon and blah blah blah, all those things. And so yeah, we've been doing this together for a really long time, and it's been really nice.
I
So
love it.
yeah.
A healthy love, man. At some point, we start learning to choose better.
Yes, right. And this came out of nowhere. So it's been really nice. Educated Black man, master of social work. We need more Black men in mental health spaces. He's absolutely committed to the men that he works with. And it's just really sexy. It's cute.
Yes. Love that. I love a man that's about his community, that's not selfish, like that just
Hmm.
want to see the people thrive. That's sexy, like you said.
Yeah. I love it. When he gets up there and talks his shit, and afterwards, men come to him, and they know that he's a safe space, because Black men have not had the privilege
Mhm.
of being vulnerable, you know what I mean? So Mark has meetings here at my job every Friday night, right? It's a men only space, and it's huge. It's grown. It's huge in popularity, right? And it's all attributed to him. Me and him worked on some things. We got that space committed for his every Friday night meeting, and yeah, some real breakthroughs take place
I
down
love
there.
it,
I'm
y'all.
proud of that.
I think this goes without saying, but keep up the great work, you and Mark.
Thank you so
Shout out to
much.
Mrs. Green. She is on almost every single podcast episode and
Hey,
supports the
Miss
brand
Green.
so much. She says, I'm loving the realness of this conversation. Thank you for your transparency.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for holding space, Miss Green.
Yes, thank you for holding space. So we're gonna wrap it up soon, Zico. I do want you to talk about. You've mentioned it a few times, but just give the people and share as much as you feel comfortable sharing about what you're doing on a day to day. I know you at the General Assembly, child. You're at the treatment center, the first Black woman to run that specific center. You're doing all the things. So tell the people what they need to know about what you're doing.
So when people ask me what a typical day is, or when people ask me what I do, sometimes it's kind of hard to define that. I guess primarily my position, I work at Health Brigade, formerly Fan Free
Okay.
Clinic, the first free and charitable clinic in Virginia. And my mom was a volunteer for them when we moved to the States. So look at this full circle moment, right? Um, I run the harm reduction program or the needle exchange. We provide safer use supplies for people who use drugs. We provide Narcan, test strips, brand new sneakers, socks, underclothes, food, water, safe space, hugs. We do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I also am a consultant, like I mentioned earlier, for a couple of federal agencies for racial equity health, Black women's health. And they're both one and the same for me. They're hugely personal and professional. I'm always amazed that I get paid for what I do. It truly is a labor of love for me, and this is a very good place to be in. So
Yeah.
I serve people. I'm a social norms disruptor. That's what I do.
That's it. That's the perfect title right there. Sums up everything you just said in one and everything else you're gonna do. And I know at some point your with your degrees you want to be a counselor for Black women, right?
Yeah, I just got accepted into grad school.
Wow.
So yeah, I found out about a month ago. So I'll be working on my Master of Arts as an
Wow.
LPC.
Okay.
And I just want to make services available to people who need it,
Mm-hmm.
specifically with a focus on Black women's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna you hear me talk about Black women, Black women. I'm a Black woman. This is an affinity of mine, serving Black women. So hopefully one day with my own practice, I can provide the services that have been, kept away from us for so long. And I want to do this pro bono for Black women.
And the cultural what's the word? Not sensitivity. We said that earlier. Cultural competency of it all. Like when you open that
Mhm.
practice, I'm gonna be sending people right. You need a roundaway girl
Period.
that's been through some things, okay? That's gonna tell you about yourself and love on you at the same time and fight for you. Go see Zico.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I love being a Black woman. It is hard to do, but I couldn't imagine not being a Black girl. I just could not. I revel in it.
likewise.
And I'm so appreciative of this Black girl space that you created. So proud of you. You're so cute. You're so bright and intelligent.
Thank
You're
you.
doing this motherhood thing. You are, that journey of us on Graham Road. I think
They
both of us were in this space in our lives where I don't know if we really saw what was coming, but it's such a privilege to be here with you. So yeah, I'm very proud of you too, Soleil.
Thank you. I saw some very dark days on Graham Road. I remember it would be days I had agoraphobia around that time because I was experiencing panic attacks and I was so scared. Like if I went outside, I would have a panic attack. I didn't know what was triggering it at the time.
Sure.
So I would be in bed with the blinds closed. It was so dark and just didn't want to move. I was just so scared. My grandpa would always come check on me. You okay? You all
Hmm.
right? But it was some dark days, and people don't know that. They see us, they see the light, they see the work, but we had to go through some darkness
Yeah.
to be able to shine the way that we do. And anybody, that's why I love to tell these stories on this podcast. We see you, we see the work, but what is the story behind why you doing what you're doing? What did you have to go through? What are
Sure.
you still going through? So it can inspire somebody else. Okay, I might not be going through that, but if she got through that and he got through
Hmm.
that,
Then
surely at some point I'm gonna
there's
get through
hope.
this.
Yep. And you've done that, and I appreciate it and I applaud it. It takes a lot to be vulnerable and transparent with the origin of your story. I am big on the origin of a story too, because I want to know what it took for you to get from there to here. Because, people leave that gap part out. People don't see the work that was going on within this gap. So that's important. And I think that's the one of the biggest keys of connectivity that we can have in the work that we do.
And I think, and this is just my personal experience, I remember when I was in grade school and they would give me like these counselors because I was acting up. They follow me into school, come to pick me up, take me places.
Hmm.
And I just remember not being able to relate to these people. I'm like, what can you tell me? You don't live in the
Yes.
hood. You don't know. You don't see crackheads in front of your door every day.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know. Clinically, you've learned about, not clinically, but you've been
No,
educated
you're
in books,
right. Clinically, and I don't hold that up.
for sure.
I applaud academia, I
Absolutely.
applaud research and study, but the cultural connectivity, the lived experience connectivity, is without
I
parallel.
want
So,
more people to start putting more respect on people's lived experiences. I do. Because again, we can't take nothing from academia. Like, amazing, need that. Of
hmm
course. We can sit that over here. That's great. But lived
hmm
experience, like, can't nobody tell your story the way that you can tell your story. And nobody can relate to other people going through the same thing you are going. That's you. Step into that.
sure. And
So
that's the key to connectivity. I have somebody coming up here at 2:30 who I'm helping to apply for accreditation with the state of Virginia as a certified peer recovery specialist. These are people specifically with lived experience in SUD, substance use disorder, and mental health disorder. They've done the necessary work to be employed in these spaces, and now she wants to go to the next stage of being accredited and certified. This is absolutely what I'm here for. I do this every day. I want people to have beautiful quality of life. I want people to just live and live well,
that's it.
right? And this is where the connectivity happens, especially with those of us with lived experience, whether that's through mental health, or substance use disorder, or whatever other thing that society has frowned its nose upon. So this is the work that we do, and it's not always easy, but it's absolutely worth it every
Yes,
single day.
ma'am. I'm gonna read some comments so you can get your flowers real quick. Mrs. Green said, "Thank you, my beautiful queens. Continue this great work. It's so inspiring and needed."
Thank you, Miss Green.
And my sister said, "Isn't she just adorbs?" Thanks, girl.
Hey, Tosh.
Azure says, "Can we recommend people to be in the soul seat? I love these." Absolutely. Tell them to email me at mystory@soulriseessentials.com. Shout out to Azure. We love you. Azure is, you know how like we know your family, love your family. She's part of another one of our very close families, and she's been in the soul seat as well.
Okay, hey, cousin.
Look, hey, cuz. Tajay says, "And to be authentic and transparent on a large platform takes great courage." It does. Azure says, "Experience is the best teacher." Hey, Serena girl. Dziko, before you go, is there anything that you want to say?
Hmm. Be good to yourself. Be good to other people. Um, be good to yourself and be good to other people. I think that's the mantra I have to live by. Um, the work that I do is super heavy. Sometimes it's thankless. We get a lot of rude shit. I'm not going to tolerate disrespect. I'm just not. But I'm not so far removed from 6 years ago that I don't remember the despondency and the despair I was going through and the isolation. I just felt so unseen and unheard. And so I just remember I have to be good to people and be kind to people, but don't take no shit
But
either.
don't,
So
hey, Zico don't take no shit, y'all. She don't. Thank you so much for joining the Soul Seat today and bringing what I knew you was gonna bring, just the honesty, the transparency, the realness, the raw. Like we love that over here. We embrace that over here. So
this was good. It just felt like being on the porch with
right,
you. I
right.
mean, we just took it to a different level. Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah,
so proud of you. Just look at
thank
you.
you.
I mean, look at you. From
Thank you.
Graham Roll to Instagram Live.
Right.
Look at you,
Hey,
Soleil. Like,
we gonna be on some other platform soon. You just wait,
yeah,
okay?
let's do it. TED Talk next.
That's my dream. My dream is to do a TED Talk and to travel nationally, internationally, and speak. So,
Period. We get paid for talking now. I don't talk for free.
hello,
So,
hello, Hello. I think that, one last thing. Can you give some words of encouragement to somebody that may be struggling with addiction? Um, Also, if you don't mind me saying this, heroin specifically, that is hard, right? And then
Sure.
also to the family members experiencing somebody they love battle addiction.
So the first thing that I'll say is addiction is cunning, baffling, insidious. I think that we lose a lot of respect, love. We fall out of touch with those who are suffering from addiction because it's not just an isolated, singular thing. It's a family thing. If anybody ever needs any support or help, they can reach out to me. If you want to put my email address in there, and just to have some grace, maybe some patience, and that you don't have to do this alone. You know, we have tons of resources and services. I'm absolutely one of them. If you don't know where to start, just start with me and we'll figure it out. This is my life's work. I think that patience and grace
I'm
are
gonna
two of the
put,
most important things.
if you're okay with it, and we can talk offline too. I have a mental health resource page on my website now, and some substance abuse things, and I have some local resources too. So if it's okay with you, we can talk offline. I can add Health Brigade on
Of
there.
course. Of course. I'm in tons of different resource guides, so I should be in yours as well. But I think that grace is one of the first things that I think about with substance use and mental health disorder, right? You know, we fear what we don't understand. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Do you know how to exit the live?
I do. Stop being funny. So like I don't
Ah! I didn't know. I was a
when
little nervous. You called me this
when I
morning when we
text
talked.
you this morning, I said she better not respond with no smart stuff.
I gave you grace. I said, let me call her and we're
Say,
gonna talk this thing through. So I just had to make sure.
I love you so, Lay.
I
You're a
love you too.
beautiful moderator. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Have a great day.
You do the same,
All right.
boo. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Y'all, this has been
Bye.
another amazing episode of Soul Seed Conversations. We just wrapped up episode 32 with none other than Ms. Dziko Singleton. She is absolutely amazing. If you are watching live and you caught the end of it, you definitely want to go back and watch the replay either on IG or on YouTube. That way you can slide through and back it up and forward as you please. I am just so honored to have had her here, from being neighbors, going through like some tough, dark times in our lives, and just shining in our purpose. That's what the Soul Tribe is all about. You just being on that journey and in community with the Soul Tribe family. Okay, hold on. Let me show y'all this shirt again. Oh, thank you, Azure. I love you. Y'all, go get you a Soul Tribe Family t-shirt. If you ain't got one, go get one. Get on the email list, the text or the email list, and get 15% off your purchase. It has our logo on one side, and this is the best part, I think, of the shirt. People can scan your shirt, this QR code and the little sun logo. They can watch our podcast, buy a shirt, hear my story, whatever. All things Soul Rise Essentials are you can find them on this link. What an amazing episode. Thank you, Dziko. I knew y'all was going to love her. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments. Tajay said, proud of you, Dziko. This was amazing. Azure said, proud of you both. Love, love, love it. I love y'all. Thank you so much. I will see you next month for the next episode. 33 is going to be another amazing one. Like I say it all the time because people just, yeah. I love y'all. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for being thrivers and for being bold enough to share your story. If you made it to the end, leave some sunshine emojis in the comments, or you can just type hashtag replay. Remember to mind your mind. Stay well, be well, and remember to shine your light. See you next month. Peace, y'all.